So today is March 18, 2025. Yesterday we were discussing about the 5 supportive factors in the meditation. If the practice is supported by sila, morality, sutta, learning, sakatsa, discussion, samatha, tranquility, and vipassana, insight, then the fruit of path and fruition knowledge, we will gain it surely. So the factor samatha, samathanugahita, supported by samatha, tranquility, we need to suppress the mental hindrances, the mental defilements. At the beginning, in the momentary basis, so later on we will be able to remove it completely. So these mental hindrances are the very big disturbances in the practice. And there are 5 kinds of mental hindrances that can be a big obstacles for our practice. When they arise, they make our mind impure, and also they weaken wisdom. Pañaya duplikarana. Those hindrances make the wisdom weak. So those 5 kinds of hindrances, the obstacles, we need to remove by noting every presently arising objects continuously and respectfully. Because they can hinder the special knowledge from occurring. And among these 5 kinds of hindrances, the first one is a hindrance of sensual desire, kama, chanda, nīvarana. Nīvarana is a hindrance. Kama, chanda, the hindrance of sensual desire. The second one is vyapada nīvarana, a hindrance of ill will. The third one is tinamita nīvarana, a hindrance of sloth and torpor. The fourth one is uddhacca kukkucca nīvarana, the hindrance of restlessness and remorse. And the fifth one is vicikicca nīvarana, the hindrance of doubt. And these are the 5 mental hindrances that hinder the knowledge from arising, and it makes our mind impure. So among those 5, the first one, the hindrance of sensual desire, actually it is the lobha or tanha or raga. Lobha, greed, tanha, attachment, craving, and clinging, sensual desire. Always wanting for something, always having a desire for something good, craving for some sensual objects. There are 5 kinds of sensual objects. Visible form or sights, sound, smell, taste, and tangible objects. So always looking for a desirable, agreeable, enjoyable, visible form, sights, and always wanting for some sweet sounds, and always having a desire for smell, a good smell, fragrant smell. Always having desire, always wanting for a good taste, and also always wanting for pleasurable touch, pleasurable tangible objects. So always having desire and wanting for those sensual pleasures, that is kama, chanda, nīvarana. And when one gets those sensual pleasures that one is wishing to get, again, he is not satisfied with that, and he wants more and more. If he get 1, he wants another 2. If he get 2, then he again wants 4. So always wanting for pleasurable objects, that is the sensual desire, kama chanda. Therefore, these sensual desire objects, sensual pleasures, it is called kama guna in Pali. That means those objects, those sensual pleasures always bind the people, always bind the beings. It binds the beings so tightly that the beings cannot get out from it. So having desire for those kinds of kama guna, sensual pleasures, is kama chanda, a hindrance of sense desire. And it is the lobha which has the nature of grasping the objects, holding the objects. So when there is sense desire, it always grasps that object that he is wanting, he is wishing to get. And it is compared with super glue. Once it grasps that object, one cannot come out from that. One stick to that object. Like super glue sticks two substances very firmly. So too when there is a sensual desire or lobha, then the mind grasps the object, then the mind cannot come out from that object. So in the olden days, people use a kind of substance to catch the monkeys in the jungle. And that substance it is some kind of signing thing. So in the forest, in the jungle, the monkeys are always curious when they see something. So when they see these types of substance, which is very sticky, and they try to touch it. They touch it by one hand, but that hand stick on that substance. A monkey cannot remove his hand from that substance because it is very sticky. So a monkey used another hand to remove the first one. Because it is so sticky, the second hand also sticks there. So both hands stick on that substance, the sticky substance. It is called makata lepa in Pali, a very sticky substance. Again, a monkey used his one leg to remove two hands, both hands from that sticky substance. But the leg also sticks there. Then he again used another leg to remove his both hands and one leg, but he did not succeed. The another leg also sticks there. Now he used his mouth to remove his both hand and legs, but mouth also sticks there. So the whole body sticks on that substance. Very sticky substance. So same way, when Kamachanda, when there is a desire for some things, if we are not mindful, if we are not mindful of those desire when they occur, then our mind also sticks on the object, the desirable objects. We cannot remove our mind from that object. It sticks there. And also another example given in the text that this type of desire, this greed is like, because it is too sticky, it sticks on the object, like throwing a piece of meat on the very hot pan. So when a piece of meat is thrown on the hot pan, it just sticks there. The desire, the sensual desire is like that. It sticks on the object, sticks on the sense objects, the sensual objects. And once one gets that sensual objects, the sensual pleasures, one does not want to give up. One just grasps it, it clings to it. One does not want to give up. So that type of nature the sensual desire has. And when this type of desire occurs in our mind, and if we are unable to observe it, unable to note it, then we are overwhelmed by this sensual desire. We cannot see the nature of this sensual desire also because we are failed to note it, and also we are failed to note other objects, starting from the primary object of rising and falling movement in the abdomen. Therefore, this is the hindrance, a big hindrance in the practice. So when this type of desire occur in us in the course of practice, we should note it immediately as a desire, and then we come back to the main object, or we come back to the pain if we are noting pain. This kamachanda, when it overwhelms us, we are not free. We cannot move freely. It is like a heavy burden for us. Our mind becomes very heavy also. In the text, it is said that kamachanda, the sensual desire, the hindrance of sensual desire is like a person with a big debt. When a person borrows some money from others, and as long as he haven't returned that money, he feels a very heavy burden, because he always thinks, oh, I have to pay back. I have to pay back. I owe money. I have to pay it. So all the time, he will be thinking about that debt because he needs to pay back. But one day, he worked very hard, he earned money, and he paid that debt, and he also have some savings for his family. Then he feel very happy. Before, he feel very heavy mind all the time. He needs to work very hard. Oh, I have to pay back. He cannot enjoy whatever he had. But after paying back that debt, and he also saved some money for living, for his family, for his children, then he feel very happy. Oh, before I owe money, but now I already pay back. I'm free now. So, same way, when the sensual desire, kamachanda, nivarana, it overwhelms us, then we feel very heavy. But once we can note this type of sensual desire whenever they occur, and we can dispel them, then we feel very light, we feel very happy. Therefore, whenever the sensual desire occurs, then we have to note it immediately. So in the text, there are many ways of dispelling those sensual desire mentioned, and one of them is to restrain one's faculties, to restrain one's sense doors, to guard the sense doors. By guarding sense doors, we can easily expel the sensual desire, kama, chanda, nivarana. We have 6 sense doors: eye door, ear door, nose door, tongue door, body door, and the mind door. The 6 doors, 6 sense bases. So we have to guard those 6 sense bases. How can we guard? The other day we heard about, though we have eyes, though we have very good eyes, we can see very clearly, but we have to behave as a blind person. Though we have a very good ear, we can hear very clearly. Our ear is very good, but we should behave as a deaf. Yeah? So though we have eyes, we have to behave as a blind, means we should not look here and there. We should not look too far. We have to close this eye door. We have to close the ear door. We have to close the nose door, tongue door. So how we can close? With the mindfulness. Yeah? With the mindfulness, having mindfulness. We try to stay in the present moment. We try to stay in the present moment, observe that presently arising objects, trying to keep our mind on that with full effort and aiming. That way we can guard our eye door, ear door, because we are not looking here and there. We are not paying any attention to the sounds. Whatever sounds is there around us, we don't pay attention. We ignore them. Whatever we see, we ignore them. We try to keep our noting mind inside us, inside our body. We try to look inside, not outside. We don't pay attention to the outside objects. We always try to keep our mind inside and try to note whatever is there. Whatever object is obvious at that very moment, we try to observe them. One samanera, one novice, when he teaches meditation to a bhikkhu, and this bhikkhu is not an ordinary bhikkhu, he is a scholar of Tipitaka. He knows about the scriptures, Tipitaka, very well. Very learned person. But when he tried to do meditation, because he is very proud of his knowledge, so when he go to the forest to do meditation, and at that forest there are 30 monks, and this 7-year-old samanera staying there, all of them are arhats. So when this monk went to the eldest monk, requesting him to teach meditation, the eldest monk asked him to go to another monk. And he also asked him to go and see another monk. So that way, at last, he comes to this 7-year-old Samanera to learn meditation. And when this Samanera, this novice, teach him, he asks him to close all 5 sense doors, but just to open one door, mind door. Try to note whatever objects appear in the mind door. Be mindful of that. So guarding that way, guarding these sense doors, we can remove those sensual desire. We can dispel sensual desire. Therefore, what we need that whatever objects appear in the sense doors, though we close the sense doors, sometimes there might appear objects. So how can then we guard those sense doors? We can guard those sense doors with sati, mindfulness. Being mindful of every objects appear in the sense doors. So that way we can dispel this hindrance of kama chanda, the sensual desire. If we are able to note every objects, every sense objects, the 6 kinds of sense objects, without thinking about that object, we just need to note it immediately whenever they becomes obvious. Because we don't have a time to think about those objects. The objects, they occur very quickly. They appear and disappear very quickly. So we don't have a time, why this happening to me? What will happen next? We don't have a time to think that way. We just need to catch it immediately and note it as it is, so that there may not arise the desire if we happen to have the very agreeable objects, very desirable objects. That way we can dispel this desire of sense objects. Therefore, the sati, mindfulness, is very important. We should have this mindfulness, but to have that mindfulness, we need to put effort. We need to put effort. We should keep our mind, noting mind, active and alert. And also we need to pay attention to the objects. We need to focus the object. Then only the noting mind will be able to note that object. That means there arise mindfulness. So this is the first hindrance, the hindrance of sensual desire. And this hindrance of sensual desire is compared with a color. Actually, our mind is very pure and clean. Very, very pure. It's like a clean water. Very pure, very clean. But when this type of sensual desire occurs, it enters in the mind, then it becomes colorful. So in colorful water, we cannot see the things clearly. If the water is very clean, we can see what is on that water. We can see very clearly. But if water is colorful, then we cannot see the things clearly. In the same way, when a sensual desire occurs in our mind is overwhelmed by this sensual desire, the noting mind will not be very clear. There will be no clarity in the mind. So when there is no clarity in the mind, we cannot see the objects clearly. Whatever we see, we see the objects in blur manner, not clear. It's like a cloudy. Cannot see the things clearly. Therefore, we should try not to give a chance to this sensual desire to enter in our mind. And by chance, if it enters into the mind, then we have to observe it immediately without being delayed. The noting mind should be one step ahead of that sensual desire. So that way we can be free of this hindrance of sensual desire. And the second, the sensual desire, just now we say, is like owing money to others. When we owe money, then sometimes the owner will ask money back. And if we cannot pay in time, sometimes he will humiliate us. He will scold us, he will humiliate us, but we have to bear that because we cannot pay back. We don't have money yet to pay him back. So we have to be patient of all those things whenever the owner humiliates us. We cannot argue with him. We cannot fight back. But once we pay back, then now we don't need to look him because we have already cleared everything. We are free. Now we feel very freedom. We don't need to be afraid of anything. Same way, when there is sensual desire, we are overwhelmed by it. We cannot move freely. But once we are free of sensual desire, we feel very free. We feel very light, very happy. Therefore, the sensual desire, whenever they occurs, should be noted very quickly in order to get rid of it. And the second one is, the second hindrance is vyapada Nīvaranāni, that is the hindrance of ill will. Vyapada, ill will. It is dosa, anger, aversion, and dissatisfaction, feeling sorrow, lamentation, and kind of disappointment. So all these natures, Vyapada Nīvarana, the hindrance of ill will. We become very angry when we do not get what we want. When we want something, but that does not happen as we wish. And then we become very disappointed. In the practice also, we want to note every objects arising at that very moment. Sometimes we cannot. Then we feel disappointed also in the practice. We want to be very mindful, but we forget many objects. We miss many objects. And when we reflect on that, oh, I miss many objects. I want to be mindful. I want to have a good practice, but my sitting meditation is not very good. I cannot note the objects. My mind wanderings all the time. There are lots of thoughts coming in, and thinking that again and again, it makes our mind discouraged. And sometimes we don't want to continue practice because of that. So that type of things is occurring within us is because of dosa, the anger, or vyapada, ill will, the same thing. So whenever this type of vyapada, ill will occurs, we have to note it immediately so that it will not grow bigger. Because this dosa, it has the characteristic of ferocity. One becomes very fierce, very cruel. It's the cruelty of mind. If we cannot control that anger, then it becomes very poisonous, like a poisonous snake. It becomes like a poison. So whenever the dosa, anger, is there, if we are not mindful of that dosa, vyapada, then it spreads all over the body. So that the body becomes very trembling because of dosa. When we speak also, the sound, our voice becomes trembled. And we feel very hot. The whole body becomes like a burning. The eyes become red. The face also becomes very red because of dosa. So dissatisfaction, disappointment also occurs sometimes when we are unable to get what we want. And if we are not mindful of that, it grows bigger and bigger. And at last we don't want to continue practice because we are unable to note all the mental objects occurring at that time. And this dosa overwhelm us. Therefore, whenever there is dosa, whenever there arises anger or disappointment or dissatisfaction, we have to note it immediately. There should be a mindfulness. mind should be active and alert to be able to note that Vyapada Nivarana. So when there is dosa, our mind becomes like a boiling water. Mind becomes like a boiling water, so we cannot see the things clearly. What's happening in our body and in our mind, we cannot see the things clearly. Like when we boil the water, and when water is boiling, we cannot see what's inside that pot. Same way, when dosa occurs, if we are unable to note it, it grows bigger and bigger, and we cannot note it. We cannot note other objects also. We cannot see what's going in our body and in our mind. Therefore, it is essential to note whenever dosa or this anger, aversion, dissatisfaction, disappointment, sorrow, whenever they occurs, and also fear. Sometimes, for no reason, the fear occurs. Sometimes we may thinking about something, and that brings fear. So whenever we feel fear, we have to note that fear also. Immediately we have to note fear as a fear, that way. And this type of fear is also the nature of dosa. It is because of dosa. So whatever the feelings we experience, we have to note it immediately. We should not just let them be there for a long time. We immediately note them. When there is dosa, ill will, or anger, we cannot enjoy the Dhamma. We will not get a chance to enjoy the taste of the Dhamma. So this dosa is like having dosa, having anger is like being ill. When we have some illness, we cannot eat whatever we want. Though there is lots of good food. Though there is lots of good food, we cannot eat because of illness. For example, a person having a diabetic person, though there is lots of good food, he cannot eat. He has to control his diet to control the sugar level. He has to control his diet. So same way, when there is a ill will, we cannot enjoy the taste of the Dhamma. We cannot enjoy how good this practice is. We cannot experience the benefits of the practice because of that dosa, anger. When a person recovered from that illness, now he can eat whatever he wants. He can eat whatever he wants. He can enjoy the food and drinks. Same way, when the dosa, the anger is dispelled, first to prevent it from occurring, or by any chance if it occurs, immediately note it so that it will not grow bigger. And that way we expel the dosa, anger, the hindrance of ill will, and then we will be able to see the very true nature of the objects that we are noting at that very moment. We come to develop the insight knowledge stage by stage, and we experience peace, calmness in the practice. That is the taste of the Dhamma. When we attain the Pata and fruition knowledge, that will be the very good test, the best, excellent taste of the Dhamma. We will gain a chance to experience that taste of the Dhamma. So therefore, whenever the dosa occurs, we have to note it. And sometimes we have to reflect on also. Reflect on if we are angry with someone else. Sometimes we have to reflect on the karma and karma results. Sometimes we become angry for no reason because other people are not doing good things. So sometimes we have to reflect on karma and karma results. Everyone has their karma as their own property. Reflecting on that and also sending metta. Sending metta also we can dispel the dosa. But while doing meditation, especially this type of satipatthana meditation, when this type of vyapada, nivarana, the hindrance of ill will occurs, then we have to note it immediately. Angry, angry, disappointed, disappointed, discouraged, discouraged, or fear, fear, sorrow, sorrow. So that way we have to note it. Sometimes if want to cry, the crying nature is also because of the dosa. Have to note that, want to cry. If the tears fall down, note it as crying, crying. So everything we have to note. And that way we can dispel this hindrance of dosa, ill will, and that won't hinder the wisdom from occurring. So this is the second hindrance. If we are unable to observe them, it makes our mind impure and it weakens wisdom. And that's all for today. The other three hindrances we will discuss tomorrow.